All right, guys, welcome back to another episode, a recap episode of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series League. This week, I'm Brandon Hauff, as I've been here every week. Michael Massie is back. And this week, we are joined by Matt Stallknecht. How's it going, Matt?
Going good, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. So we'll jump right into it. Monday night was the first race of the playoffs for you guys at the Daytona Road Course with the MX-5s. I'll let you guys talk about each of your races. Not much happened, really. I mean, it was an eventful race to an extent. We'll start off. David Shieldhouse got the win, so he moves on to the next round of the playoffs. Was in the Final Four last year, so that's a good start for him. But I'll let you start, Mike, with your race and how it went.
Yeah, first, exciting, almost kind of photo finish. It was Shieldhouse and Garrett Smithley, which that was pretty cool to see Smithley not really pull out and go for it, try and make something happen for himself. And they blasted by Adam Cabot there, which, yeah, very exciting finish. I gotta give a quick shout out to Stephen Ellis because he really did play the strategy game perfectly. Won the race off pit road at the end. Got passed by Cabot for the lead, was passing Cabot back, and then Cabot decided to end his night. I don't think it was intentional, but sure enough, he dumped him for the lead, said he thought he was a lapped car, which I guess it's okay to dump lapped cars, which means I need to start running for my life if that's the case. But yeah, great finish. My race, I had a similar issue to a couple weeks ago. Did practice, everything was fine through practice. About 5 minutes left in practice, I get up to do my pre-race bathroom break because these races are long. I come back, my internet, I'm out of the session. Internet disconnected.
No luck this year with that at all.
So yeah, by the time I finally got back up there, I entered the session. I was 3.5 laps down, which I suck at road courses anyways. So to spot the field 3.5 laps, and then it was a race. It was only one caution. It was a halfway break. So there's really no chance to make that back. So I was just riding along, just running my own race, getting practice, I guess. And I really was turning some really fast laps. Felt like I got a lot better as I was going on. And the coolest part of my night though was the pit road closed 5 minutes before the caution, and I dove to pit road with like less than 5 seconds left, and the broadcast actually gave it a shout out, so I was pretty proud of that. That was my W for the night. But other than that, after that, I just kind of got bored out there knowing I was racing for nothing. There's nobody on my lap, and was getting distracted by other things, and then I just plowed it into the wall, just drove it head on to the wall and just left the session, just rage quit. So yeah, last place finish. Hopefully Toby Christie gives me a little prize for that. But yeah, how about you, Matt?
Yeah, you're a better man than I for 3 laps down on a road course race, man. I don't think I would have lasted anywhere near as long as you, but yeah, I don't know. It was an up and down night, to say the least. I started off with, I've been traveling all week for the day job, and got into the room with basically no practice on the week, which is never very good. So I didn't really know what to expect from the car, from the track, from the racing, and everything in between. So got into the server, was able to kind of get myself acclimated somewhat quickly, and yeah, I got like 10 minutes of practice in. And after that, got into the race server, completely messed up my qualifying lap. And then I was not super confident going into the race. I was like, man, like I just I am not up to speed this week. I have not gotten anywhere near as much practice as I needed for this. And then we get into the race and got a lap or two, and I'm like, all right, I'm actually feeling pretty good. I was gaining on everybody ahead of me. And I think I was running like, I qualified like 26th. I think we had 31.
God bless.
Bless you.
Oh man, hang on. Bad rate. Second. But yeah, I qualified like 25th or 26th, way back in the pack. And, you know, on a road course, that's pretty much a death sentence. So I had pretty much resigned myself, you know, being in the playoffs, that I just wanted to get a top 15. Like if I could figure out some strategy, miss some guys who wrecked something, and just kind of make up some of that track position and, you know, skate out of there with the top 15. I figured that was going to be a win. And I had ran well in this particular combination the season prior. So I felt like once I got my rhythm, I was going to be okay. And I think it was lap 3. I don't remember exactly who it was. I think it was Ball Fans, but 2 cars collided ahead of me. I went to miss them. I hit the wall, ended up losing a ton of track position when I didn't really have much to give up to begin with. And then ended up in a situation where I was damaged until the first pit stop. So I was like losing tons of time. So pretty much just coasted until that first yellow. And then I don't know. I still, to this day, thinking about the race, I'm not entirely sure like how much of an advantage new tires were, but something clicked because I put new tires on when I don't think anybody else did on there during the caution period, the midway break. And I just started flying through the field. Like I restarted somewhere in like 27th, 28th. And by the time I had pitted, I had drove up into the top 10, and I'm like, oh my God, like clicked off like the fastest lap of the race. I was like, I can't believe this is happening. Like, I'm not a road course expert. Like, where did this come from? So I don't know what clicked in the second half of the race, but started making up a ton of spots. And I'm like, wow, like this is crazy. Like I may end up sneaking out of here with like a great road course result. So a couple laps to go, I'm running 10th. You know, was able to get through that last pit stop unscathed, was with the lead pack, felt like I had a really, really good shot at just bringing home a good finish, and was determined to do just that. But of course, as drivers, we're all greedy. And I was racing pretty hard with Bailey Curry for 10th on those last couple of laps. And Bailey just sent it on me going into the final turn before you turn back onto the track. And did not appreciate that. So I started riding his bumper going into the bus stop. Wasn't going to like wreck him or anything, but I was just being too aggressive. And he ended up kind of missing that last section of the bus stop by just like the tiniest amount and hit the cone. And I was following him as closely as I could, just not paying attention because I was mad. And I ended up hitting the cone, and I ended up getting hit with a penalty, literally with like 2 laps remaining. So I had to like slow down, give up like 5 spots. So now I'm running 15th. I'm like, oh, you gotta be kidding. And then of course, what the Monday Night Racing world has been talking about, I guess, since I blew up on this particular individual in our chat, my teammate and I, Presley Sora, ended up colliding on the next lap, and that pretty much just torpedoed my race. That sent me back to like 20th. And then for added benefit, I got collected coming to the line by 3 or 4 guys who decided to wreck each other. I think it was Max Kennan and George Ball Fans again. So went from 10th to 25th in the span of about a lap and a half. And went from being probably 5 or 6 points in the playoff cut to now down 7. So disappointing, and a way too long of an explanation for how the night went, but that was crumbled.
No.
Well, yeah, and your teammate Ford Martin decided to put it all out there with another radioactive. So the teammate drama is now public. How does that make you feel?
Look, I'm fine with it. I mean, look. So I'll preface it by saying that Presley and I have talked, and I don't think either one of us is in full agreement over exactly what happened, which is fine. I think I was just upset that there wasn't like an apology or anything like that after the race. But you know, we're race car drivers, or at least virtual race car drivers, and you know, you want to feel like you know, you're in the right most of the time. But you know, I personally felt like it was an avoidable accident. I certainly don't think it was anything purposeful. Presley's a really good driver and someone I've always enjoyed racing with, and I think that was the main reason why I'm like, I cannot believe this. Like, why? Like, how did this happen? Yeah, as for Ford putting it out there, as a co-owner of the league and a driver, you got to put the drama out there first, man. Like it's fair game. Whatever we say on the radio is fair to get picked up, just like it is in real NASCAR. So you sign up for that in this league. So you want to grow and want to do cool stuff as a league. You got to be willing to put the content out there. We're all entertainers just as much as we are drivers, I think, to some extent. So yeah, that's all fair play as far as I'm concerned.
I would say the last 2 weeks have been 10 out of 10 for entertainment for a lot of reasons, but that's another story for another day. But anyway, let's talk about you, Matt, and your history in sim racing and real life motorsports and working in the industry. I know you did work in the industry with NASCAR, not anymore. And I know you've been on iRacing for a long time. Just kind of talk about that, where you started at, what you're doing now, your time with NASCAR. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So right now I work full time for a company called Tipico Sportsbook. They are a big provider of sports betting, online mobile casino, all of that stuff. So they're huge overseas, and they're kind of in the process of breaking into the United States right now. So I work on their business development team, really just helping the sportsbook grow across the United States. It's an awesome job. I love the space. I got introduced to the sports betting world through my last role at NASCAR, where I was actually managing NASCAR's sports betting partnerships. Just kind of something I fell into when I was there. I was always interested kind of in the gaming space, and started off at NASCAR, kind of working backwards. In 2017, it was my second job out of college. I worked at a PR firm for a year prior to that, and in Orlando, Florida, and moved to Charlotte, packed up all my stuff, and got the NASCAR opportunity to work on their PR team. And at the time, I was really interested in kind of just helping the narrative around the sport, helping the sport grow. I've always had a really keen interest in the business of motorsports and wanting to see motorsports just be more financially successful, more sustainable long term. And I had a degree in public relations and felt like I could help out. So got the opportunity with NASCAR, and it was amazing. I mean, it was do that. I'm 29 now, and I look back on those middle years of my 20s is really very much were defined by working at NASCAR. I got to travel the country, go to all the races, got to grow my career there. So super thankful for that. And my decision to leave and try something different was just purely just out of a desire to just try some new things and kind of expand myself. I'm still very close with a lot of people I work with at NASCAR, whether it be old bosses and colleagues and friends, and it was awesome. And the last year that I was there, I transitioned into the sports betting specific role because they were looking for somebody just with some expertise that could help manage the partnerships, and that ended up kind of leading to this job working for an actual sports betting operator. So I look back on all that, and it's just kind of crazy to see how a career can evolve. I don't think I would have expected 5-10 years ago to say that when I was 29 I'd be working for a really awesome sports book, but here we are. So it's life throws some crazy curveballs at you, but you just got to roll the punches.
Sure. And how about sim racing? What got you into sim racing on that front? And Monday Night Racing too.
Yeah, so two layers to that story there. So the sim racing for me started a very long time ago. So, growing up, loved video games. I was the nerdy kid that had like every EA Sports title for each year that they, released it. So like I distinctly like laying out all of the 2004 like lineup of EA Sports games like on my bed, just like marveling at like all the different sports that I you could kind of dive into at that age. And I never felt like I had enough time to explore my interest in all these different sports when I was that age. And NASCAR was number one on that list. And I think the first game that I played was probably NASCAR Heat, like the original NASCAR Heat, not the ones that the last couple of years that we're probably all familiar with, but like the blue jewel case NASCAR Heat from like 2000. That was like my first real like exposure to something that was beyond like a console racing product. And I was like blown away by the depth of it. My grandma, her house, she had a PC set up, and we only had NASCAR Heat at that particular house. So like it was literally like something that was a incentive for when we would like travel up and visit family in Syracuse, because we weren't living in Syracuse at the time, which is where I ended up growing up later on. But my grandma's house had this game, and I play it there all the time, and that was like really my biggest exposure to sim racing. And then as I got a little bit older and the games got more sophisticated, I would play NASCAR, EA Sports NASCAR games, and kind of got into some league racing there, but never felt like it was scratching the competitive itch and like kind of the realism that I was really looking for. So finally, in 2012, I saved up some money and got on iRacing, which I had wanted to do for years. I had dabbled in NR 2003 and some other like sim titles, but iRacing was always just like a step way above all of that. So finally decided to take the dive, and I became completely obsessed. It was a huge time sink for me throughout college. If I wasn't hanging out with friends and doing typical college kid stuff, I was probably on iRacing racing. And that's kind of where I built my familiarity. And then I started working in the sport, and you start meeting people, and years passed by, and I had been on iRacing for 8 years when Monday Night Racing took off during the pandemic. Had 8 years of experience on the sim, had been in a lot of big races, had grown my I rating up a little bit. So I had been looking for some sort of competitive outlet, but I also wanted one where I could meet people in the industry. And that was exactly what Monday Night Racing in its earliest days offered. And then I don't think I ever dreamed that the league would get to the point where we have weekly podcasts covering it, and big name sponsors getting involved in racing. Like that was never anything that I envisioned. So seeing where the league's come has just been a dream come true. And is someone like myself that just grew up never really having the opportunity to get in a real race car, the way sim racing has grown because of iRacing, because of leagues like Monday Night Racing, because of like the Coke series and everything else, like it kind of replaces to some extent that urge to race competitively in real life that I've had for so long. And I'm very thankful for it. And I'm thankful for how the league has grown, and being able to have been a part of it as a driver at first, and now a member of the leadership team for the league. And I'm just tickled to death at how it's grown to this point. So we just got to keep the momentum rolling.
And it's crazy because I was saying, I think I've said this in a past episode, but Monday Night Racing, I believe, is the first iRacing league to do the in-person like championship races. Like not even Coke has done that yet. And Coke has been around since like what, 2010. Yeah. You guys were the first ones to do it. And I know it's going to continue this season. So yeah, it's crazy. And I don't even know if Coke's even talked about doing that. So the fact that you guys have done that, that's incredible to me, because I feel like that's going to be more and more of a thing in the future when it comes to other, big sim racing leagues. But it seems like Monday Night Racing, you guys have just taken off doing that.
Yeah. And I think what helps Monday Night Racing specifically accomplish these sorts of things is most of our drivers are either real life drivers or people like myself that either work in the industry or close to it or used to work in the industry. And the vast majority of us are all in Charlotte. That's not the case for everybody. We have drivers that are all across the country, but a huge portion of drivers are in Charlotte. And I think that's a huge reason it makes our league uniquely positioned to do the in-person stuff. And frankly, it's the most exciting element. We have, for the next race, the playoff race coming up from Texas Legacy. That event is going to be held at the Charlotte Esports Hub, where we did the championship event last year. So we're going to have 2 playoff races plus the championship race all take place courtesy of Charlotte Phoenix. And it's I participated in the championship race. Like, I was not championship eligible, but I did race that night. And just racing in that environment is as close as you're going to get to doing the real thing iRacing is obviously a great sim, but it can't replicate the feeling of having fans around you and people screaming and rooting for people and the pressure, the good pressure that you feel when you have an audience watching you like live. It's such a cool experience as a driver. And I think about it as a fan, for someone that comes to a show like that for the first time, that's an easy way to convince them of just how serious this is to those of us that love sim racing and love this hobby. So it's been awesome to be a part of it. I certainly hope it continues. I think it will. And I think the championship event proved that it's something that everyone can take advantage of if they can line up the right partners to help them do it. And you got the right people in place to help make it happen.
For sure. I've got my eye on that championship event. If we do a live one, might make the trip down, because I think it lines up. It's that Monday would be the championship race, and then 2 days later, Dale Earnhardt Jr. is racing at North Wilkesboro. So
it's crazy.
That would be a trip. That'd be a trip to make right there, I think.
That'd be incredible.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it would be. But anyway, we'll shift our focus to next week, as you said, at Texas Legacy. Are you guys in the Xfinity or trucks? I don't remember what Ford said. I want to say it was a trucks, but I know Ford said Xfinity. But I feel like I saw.
Yeah, we're gonna be running vehicles. Yeah, so
it is Xfinity. Okay.
At Old Texas, as it is colloquially known. Yeah, I think it's going to be a really interesting race. Like I said, having the in-person component, I'll be racing live that weekend, and we've got some really good big name drivers. I don't think we've announced it yet, who are going to be racing their in-person playoff contenders, real life stars that'll be racing live from the Charlotte Esports Hub, racing for their playoff lives. So it's going to be pretty awesome. So that's the biggest thing that I'm looking forward to. And I think just tactically, as a driver, personally, 7 points out, 7 points out to the cut line. The points are super tight. I'm treating it, I don't want to say as a must win, but I think just after the circumstances that happened at Daytona last week, I feel like I pretty much have to treat it as a must win. I'm good on 1.5 miles, so I have a good track record on these tracks, especially ones with tire wear, which I know is going to come into play. I think if you take a look at what happened a few weeks prior in the second to last race before the regular season cut off at Charlotte, we ran the Xfinity cars. High tire wear, cars were really hard to drive. Led to a pretty interesting race. I think you're going to see something pretty similar. And a lot of these guys who have never raced at Old Texas are probably not going to be used to the bumps. I feel pretty good about that, because I know that particular configuration of Texas was one that was very much popular in iRacing when I kind of first started getting into the sim. So I'm pretty used to the weird transitions coming in and out of the corners that anybody that's raced on that old configuration would tell you is the most defining characteristic. As you come out of turn 2 and the car just completely unloads in this very weird way, and the transition is just very wonky, but it's fun and it makes the track really unique. And it's bumpy. You can run different lanes on the track. So it's going to be exciting. I think the track's going to widen out really good, especially with the Xfinity cars. And I think it's going to come down to whoever can save their tires the best, because that was what did it in Charlotte.
Yeah, I was going to say, back to the point where you said that, a lot of these guys haven't been on the Old Texas just because, a lot of them haven't had the sim for a long time. And I think we've had New Texas now for like 3-4 years or something like that. It's 5. Yeah, 5. Yeah. I know for myself, I've been on iRacing forever, and I know I've driven on Old Texas, but I feel like the guys like yourself who have driven on the Old Texas and know what it's like, they're going to have the advantage here, especially with a car like the Xfinity car, because it's not, some funky combination where, it's a stock car on a 1.5 mile track, even if it's a legacy track. And even if a lot of guys haven't been on it, I feel like the guys who have and have driven, anything on it, a truck, a cup car, whatever, they're going to have the advantage just because they know They know the bumps in the corner. They know that bump going into 3 that will throw you off. They know the bump in the middle of 1 and 2 that will throw you off. And like you said, the transitions off the corner. It's really different, and it's nothing like the new Texas as anybody knows.
Yeah, no, I mean they're two fundamentally different tracks, and it's going to be on all of us to get used to it and unwind some of that knowledge. I treat a lot of these legacy tracks on the game as just completely different. Like Daytona's 07 is a totally different track than new Daytona. And Phoenix. I mean, all of these these are qualitative tracks. So I just treat them as such. You can't drive it like New Texas is now. I mean, New Texas is just flat-footed for the most part, except for 1 and 2. We just want to crack the throttle a little bit. But yeah, I'm excited. I think it's gonna be a fun race.
Yeah, I think we have some of our best races in the Xfinity car. I think those are the ones that, maybe I'm just making this up, but where we get kind of those longer runs and it ends up being about the tire wear and strategy a little more, and not just really a survival of the fittest, survival of the wreckfest or whatever.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
We find ways to make it survival of the fittest, seemingly no matter what the combination is. But
yeah, we can. We can for sure.
Yeah,
but yeah, I'm certainly in agreement. I think the Xfinity cars have been good to us as a league. I think especially on intermediates, because you get that tire wear, and that really separates the field nicely, which we're kind of craving as a league after the season we've had with so many cautions.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think you'll see, like I said, the guys who have been on it for a while, they're going to come out and they're going to show their strength. And, you're going to have the guys that haven't been on it for a while. They're going to still be up there. But I give those guys, the guys that have been on here 6, 7, 8, 9 years, the upper hand, I think, going into this week. But anyway, good show today, guys. We thank Matt for coming on. Great to hear about his history and all that. I will say on a personal note, I do relate to when you said the whole EA games, laying them across the bed and all that with the year and like all those, other sports and NASCAR being number 1. That was me as a kid. I can 100% relate to that. So that was interesting to hear. Great to hear about his history in NASCAR and what he does now with the sports betting. But anyway, I'm Brandon Hauff. That's Michael Massie. We thank Matt Stallknecht for joining us, and we'll see you guys next week.
Jared Haas with Frontstretch.com. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Also, check one of those 2 videos out that we have right beside you. Visit Frontstretch.com for more great content.